Hello, this is Mayor Raz J. Baraka, and thank you for tuning in to EduTalk, where we will discuss incredible topics centered around our young people, about local control, community schools, our special needs population, creating curriculum and opportunities for young people to move forward from elementary school into careers or to universities. It is the opportunity for us to discuss our young people's creativity, their imagination, their ability to move our city forward. We need them in Newark, and we need the best educated, the most well-trained, incredibly courageous and imaginative young people coming out of our school system. And this show gives us an opportunity to engage those topics. Again, thank you for watching. God bless.
Greetings. My name is Antoinette Richardson, and I'm the Chief Education Officer for Mayor Baraka's Office of Comprehensive Community Education. And again, welcome to EduTalk. This week we have a really special guest. We have the new superintendent of the Newark Public Schools, Mr. Roger Leone. Congratulations, Superintendent Leone.
Thank you.
And before we get into our conversation with Superintendent Leone, we're going to do what we do at every EduTalk show, and that is we're going to throw out a fun fact question for you to answer, something for you to think about, and we'll get back to you with the answer before the end of this segment. So, what is the very important document that Superintendent Leone is responsible for developing sometime within the next year? That's the question. You may know the answer if you've been involved in school stuff for a while, and if not, you'll hear the answer soon. So, Superintendent Leone, you have an extensive history in the Newark Public Schools, and I'll just admit it, I've known you since you were a student, a teacher, a principal, an assistant superintendent, and now actually the superintendent of the Newark Public Schools. And with all that history, got to be a lot of pressure, and pressure from the school board, pressure from the parents, pressure from students, because you're the type of person who gets to actually know the students, pressure from the educators, and because I know you, I'll say this, pressure from yourself, pressure to do a really, really excellent job as the superintendent. So what is that like? What is all of that pressure like?
It's absolutely incredible, actually. It's 55,000 plus students in our city that attend, whether it's what's understood as the Newark Public Schools, our charter schools, the Archdiocese, or even private schools. It's over 6,000 employees. It's a $1 billion budget. It's an enormous responsibility because part of the work that occurs in schools is obviously the education of the public. So I accept that responsibility in full, not in parts. And the responsibility that we have actually in schools to organize ourselves, to create a system that clearly understands the role and responsibility of schools in a city, and in a city so dynamic as this one is an incredible responsibility. I'm extremely excited of having the board with the confidence that they saw in my candidacy to become the superintendent with that responsibility. And I see that the work that we're going to do in schools will create better citizens in our city, that hopefully they graduate from college and determine that they're in fact going to return to the city of Newark, or if they actually graduate from high school and enter the workforce, that they decide ultimately in the end to live in this city is the most incredible reality that I know we have. Everyone who lives in Newark wants Newark to be better.
Yes.
So what better way of doing that than by educating them?
Thank you. And, the word excitement is certainly what I feel, and it's certainly kind of what's buzzing around your superintendency. And people have great expectations. But what do you bring? And I said, I know you and this and that, but we want to know from you, like, what do you bring? What's in your toolbox? From all of your experiences and, the knowledge, what are you bringing to this?
Well, I think that it's important to put it all into context. So for the last 22 years, we've been under state control. So we are actually moving into local control. And part of what I bring to the conversation, I think, is very, very unique, and that I have been readied for this opportunity, that actually I have been prepared by the students that I've met, the teachers that I've hired, the principals that I've led, that the entire organization, I see it as a system. And I think one of the things of the three that I bring to the organization is that I'm a systems thinker. I see the organization as a whole, not as individual parts, but I understand that each individual part is extremely important. I'm a consensus builder, so that ultimately in the end, bringing people who don't necessarily agree on particular topics and actually bringing them together to agree is a skill set that I've had the opportunity to grow. And then the most important, not that the other two aren't important, I think that all three are important, but the center of what my organization brings that will distinguish us in history is that I'm the children's superintendent, that my focus is on making sure that they understand that they are the show, and that ultimately the adults that work in the district run the show.
So let me ask you this, because when you say your last statement about the children being the show and your focus and being the children's superintendent, I think that's very important, because as you know, I was a school board member, and one of the things that that we should learn, anyone who's a school board member, is that if you're not, when you're talking and having whatever, conflicts, disagreements, trying to figure stuff out, if you're not talking about what's best for children, then it's not even a conversation that you should be having. So given that, and that just made me think about you and the school board that voted you in unanimously. How do you see that relationship coming, into local control, and now being the first superintendent in 22 years to actually have a relationship with a board that you have to have a relationship with, because you do have to work together?
I'm proud of my board. All 9 members form one Board of Education, and working with them collaboratively has been an incredible experience, not only in the days leading up from what I call my running start up to the 30th of June, but ever since the start on July 1. So it's a collaborative effort. It's a learning with regards to not only them and myself, that they are actually the Board of Education, but the entire organization, and anyone who works with our organization also has to go through a transition phase, if you will, to understand that the Board of Education is not advisory in nature, and that they make important decisions as it relates to the policies that are approved for the district. And that's my relationship with them that's extremely important, so that we're always clear on why we're doing what we're doing. And, your previous question about, what about me? I am Newark. This is my city. I was born here, lived in the South Ward, grew up in the East Ward. I have relatives in the North Ward, and my sister used to live in the West Ward. So I know this city really, really well.
And you're liable to show up at anybody's cookout.
At anybody's cookout, especially if the food is good,
Okay.
I'm there. The ultimate idea, though, is to have a sense of a good pulse of the city. So we have 5 distinct wards, and each ward is very, very unique. Ultimately, the work that we have in schools is to actually unite everyone in our city so that we actually learn from the greatness that makes up the city of Newark.
So thank you. So this is, you've been officially in place since July 1st. We're coming towards not even at 1 month, but what do you see? What are your goals for that first initial period, that first 100 days?
So in the first 100 days, we obviously have summer school that's in session right now. And we are, since the 2nd of July, began my comprehensive needs assessment of the entire school district. So one of the things that we're looking at is what's occurring in summer school. Does it make sense? Is it the right experience for our students? What will we need to change to make it better? Because a lot of the planning that went into summer school needed to have occurred during the months prior to the announcement from the board. So understanding what work went into place. Is it an experience that is worthy of the kids' time during the summer? Because we know that the summer months are extremely important. Are there students reading during the summer? Because we know that during the summer dip, we have a tendency to think that since it's vacation time, that that will be sufficient to ready us for school. The second thing is I've been reviewing all of the budgets that the principals prepared with their staff and members of their school and their communities for this coming school year. So when they actually return in August, we'll be reviewing some of the decisions that they made with regards to their actual budget and kind of create a criteria that I will judge them on as we get ready to do the next budget for the following year. So we're not going to wait 2 years to figure out how to make adjustments to the budgets. We're actually looking at that work during the next 100 days. And then the third thing is we're in the process of getting ready for the students' return. So in the high school, students will be returning during the last weeks of August so that we can actually ready them for high school. Those who are returning from high school, we are actually creating challenges for them. And then the students that are in the elementary schools, obviously they return on the 4th of September. Everyone needing and required to be to school on the 4th of September, regardless of grade. Not only to school, but
you
to
want
school
everyone
on time.
To be at school on the first day of school?
I want every
student.
student on the 4th of September
Every
to
student.
be at school on time, ready to learn.
That's right.
One of the interesting things about next summer is that I will be expecting the students to return to school on that first day of school and on time, but with their summer assignments that they're going to be required to complete, if in fact they are in any of our programs during the summer. But more in particular, I've been looking at the advanced placement courses that our high school students are in. We're going to be increasing options for our high school students. So I would expect that they return on the first day of school with not only their projects, but a lot of assignments that are due. What I would want to not impress upon you, because I think that you and I are clear on this, but definitely to impress upon the audience, anyone who's a parent or had a child in the school district at some point in time, that we are going to create a really hard and rigorous academic experience during this coming school year and in the years that follow. And that what we're going to do is, as a city, celebrate the incredible accomplishments that our students will be proven to have successfully made. So I'm suggesting that we're going to make it far harder for our students to do better, and that our students are actually going to meet those standards, so that I have to actually create higher standards because they will then meet those standards. And all throughout this incredible opportunity called school, to celebrate it not only with their parents but with our community, and obviously celebrate it with our students themselves.
So I hear really high expectations, and I hear a real vision of what the future is going to look like for young people in school in Newark. And sounds exciting. I want to see what the specifics look like. So there's been one major initiative that we want to talk about a little bit today, because it was we've had folks on this show who were part of the Southward Community Schools Initiative. For those who don't know, one school, 5 schools in the South Ward, 1 high school, 4 elementary schools that over the last about 3-4 years went through a planning phase and then an implementation phase with some successes but not really coming to fruition for a lot of reasons in the way that we would have liked to, but a lot of good work and a lot of really dedicated people. And, from what I know of community schools, that there's nothing in there that contradicts anything that you believe in or see for schools. But I just feel, listening to you, I feel a larger vision than 5 schools. And I just wonder, using that kind of community school mindset or strategy, what does that look like in terms of where you're going? Like, is the community schools, is it dead and gone? Is it going to stay the same? Does it grow? Is it community schools? Is it something that is that but bigger, greater, which is what I tend to feel is where you go with things? But for you,
Yeah, so there's been incredible work in the last couple of years and a lot of resources that have been put into Shabazz, Brick Avon, Brick Peshine, Belmont Runyon School, and the Spencer Miller co-location location that we actually have at the Spencer building. One of the things that has happened in our school district is that, and this just didn't happen last year or in the last couple of years, but it's something that has actually happened across the years, is that we try something, we see the challenges that it has, and then we make the decision to not continue it because it's so hard that people get stuck on why doesn't it progress. We did this exact same idea in a broader, bold approach at Central High School, where the elementary schools that feed into Central High School were focusing on very, very hard work. So we've tried it at Central High School and then we stopped. We tried it at Malcolm X Shabazz High School in the heart of the South Ward, and we have been implementing that strategy for a good 3 years and a couple of months or so. So it makes a whole lot of sense that people who are watching this and interested in what is occurring with the community schools to go, well, if we usually start something and it gets really, really hard, we usually have a tendency in this school district to stop it. Well, that's not what my administration is doing. What we're going to do is take the incredible work that has occurred in the South Ward as it relates to Malcolm X Shabazz High School and the 4 elementary schools that I referenced and actually escalate it. We are not going to think small in the Newark Public Schools. We're actually going to do incredible efforts at the 6 comprehensive high schools. That work actually began with high school principals during the last couple of weeks of June. When our freshmen actually return to the Summer Bridge program, they're going to see an escalation of a gifted and talented program in every single one of our comprehensive high schools. Starting actually this summer, there's 1 comprehensive high school that already completed that task going into this school year, and then the other 5 were either in the process during the last weeks of June, and definitely will be completing that work during the course of the summer to create a pool of students that are actually gifted and talented in the incoming freshman class. It's a scary thought that I know not necessarily all of the people that are watching, but there are people who may think about the city of Newark unlike the way I see it. I think that our students are geniuses, that they are to be provided unique opportunities to demonstrate that manifest itself, and that it's the responsibilities of adults in schools to prove to everyone how brilliant our kids are. So we're going to actually move the work from the South Ward as it exists right now and focus every single comprehensive high school in every single one of the wards, with obviously Weequahic High School being a participant in the South Ward. to refocus on the work. I would hope that we will obviously get the opportunity to talk to see how things progress, obviously. But as we get into the spring of this coming school year, we will be able to have an incredible, unique opportunity of the great work that is going to be finalized at the comprehensive high schools for the students that are now rising to the 8th grade in our elementary schools. So the challenge that's ahead is enormous, and I'm just extremely excited about the opportunities of our students to make important decisions with their parents about the schools that they will be attending come next school year. But we're not going to wait until next school year. We're going to actually focus a lot of work right now, given the students that will be attending schools in September.
So I love what I'm hearing. I think that our comprehensive high schools get a bad rap, and you have brilliant teachers and you have brilliant students, but they haven't all gotten the support that they need. So this is really, what you're saying is really refreshing, that attention will be given to all of the comprehensive high schools.
Well, I know that you know this for a fact. My sisters, prior to my birth, were actually in Newark and attending schools in Newark, and every single school is going to be positively impacted. So I don't want anyone who's sitting out there thinking that I'm leaving the magnet high schools out. Sometimes what happens is that the magnet high schools appear to be doing so much better than the other schools that people say they will be okay. That's not my administration at all. We will be working in the magnet high schools, making some incredible improvements in them. There's an incredible initiative that will come out of Arts High School in a couple of weeks during the month of August that everyone is going to want to know and be a part of. And I'm excited, about that work. I shared with you that the idea that I have, so I was a principal of an elementary school, Dr. Horton, and principal of a high school, University High School. Ultimately, what I experience is when you make school so difficult for our students that a lot of people misinterpret that to mean that they are not going to be successful. That has not been my experience. Every time we've created a difficult challenge for the students, I have seen our students do like the Phoenix does and rise to meet those expectations. And every time that they've risen, what I have actually found myself doing with the staff that I've led is increase the standards higher. And what do? They actually rise to meet that expectation. So we're always making school difficult for our students with the understanding that our job is to make them successful. So when I say it's hard, it's going to be hard. But I have the fundamental belief that we have students in all of our schools that are going to meet those challenges and ask for more complicated challenges because they're going to meet those too.
So I think that's the key word, though, challenge. If we say difficult, sounds kind of negative, but I think challenge, that's the word that really excites me. And some challenges are difficult, but these are challenges, and they absolutely will meet the challenge every time. You're right.
I know this about you. You are a child of the city. I'm a child of the city. You attended Newark schools, so did I, and we still both live in the city. We know that things are difficult. We know that you can call them difficult and you could call them challenges. But we also know this, that if we're in the city of Newark, we live here, we're of here, we're from here, then we're going to meet all of those. That no obstacle is going to be too difficult for a child of the city to overcome. And we're going to make sure of that.
I hope everyone hears that. And I hope all the young people who are out here watching hears that there's no challenge that is too difficult. Let's switch gears just a little bit, and let's talk about community. One thing that I noticed, there was a sort of a public meeting when the superintendent candidates spoke to, I think it was at Science High School, that came up. You guys, and I'm saying guys because it was 4 male contenders, went on stage and presented to people in the community who came out to hear your kind of vision for education, in the city of Newark. And what I remember is that you really got a loud ovation from a lot of people in the community who were in that auditorium that day. And while that had to feel really good to have that support, we know that community engagement is not always a easy thing, but it is a necessary thing because the children are children of parents and grandparents and other caring adults in the community who really want and need and should have a say-so. So what is your vision in terms of community engagement? What does that look like to you, ideally?
When I was growing up, some time ago, so I was on the Science High School debate team, and Councilman George Branch, who was one of our 9 council members on the Newark Municipal Council, he heard about what we were doing with debate. And he was so impressed about our work that he had us do a mock debate. It was 4 of us from Science High School at one of our senior citizen centers. And his message was that every member of the community was important, and that we have elders in our city who are watching and who are concerned about the children. And so what he wanted to do was give our seniors an incredible opportunity to see the work that kids were doing, so that they can understand that whatever have been the struggles over years and time, that the school district was actually working towards solving some of those issues. And I think that's incredible. The role of the entire community is what I will see as a resource to help us. From every senior citizen who's watching this show to every senior citizen who is not, part of the responsibility that our children actually have is to grow up in the city, care about the city, care about themselves, and worry about the elders. So in the scheme of things, anyone who cares about the city is also extremely important. So that means our parents, our grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and the siblings, all important. So the family is extremely important. Then we're a city of colleges. So every single one of the universities that works here, the chancellor, from the chancellor at Rutgers to the president at NJIT and everyone that's in between, is extremely important to this work. If you drive down Broad Street, every single one of the CEOs and all of the members of their respective staffs that actually work with them are part of the solution in the administration that I envision. You have community-based organizations. You have our faith-based leaders, all critical partners who care about our city. And I would be remiss to say that when I talk about family members, that I talk about our community activists, that they are a critical voice, because sometimes they speak for those who are not going to the microphones, whether it's at city council meetings or at our Board of Education meetings, and they're giving voice to the voiceless. So all of those different facets of our community are extremely important, and part of what my thinking is, I'm not going to leave any of them out of the incredible work that we have ahead.
Thank you. And we're going to switch gears again just for a second, and I have one more question for you, Superintendent Leon. But first, I want to get back to our fun fact. So the question was, what is the very important document that Superintendent Leon is responsible for developing? Okay. You want me to say it? You want to say it?
Go ahead.
The
strategic plan.
You cheater. It's the strategic plan. And the strategic plan, the present strategic plan for the Newark Public Schools District goes through June of 2019, correct?
That's right.
Okay, so it is incumbent upon Superintendent Leon to, during his first year as a superintendent, to begin that process and to ensure that a new strategic plan is developed, and that hopefully it will be in place for the following school year. And that is a big responsibility, because all of these folks that Superintendent Leon just referred to, the students, the parents, the community-based organizations, et cetera, everyone in the community has the opportunity and, in a way, the responsibility to participate in that strategic plan for the district. So, in closing, Superintendent Leon, what is your message to the students, to the young people in Newark?
The only way to make the city of Newark better than it is today is with the education that they're going to receive in school. And that in school doesn't necessarily mean from a classroom teacher in front of them, that it means from our security guard, their interaction with the secretary in the main office, obviously with the teacher that's in the classroom, that they have an incredible voice that will be heard as it relates to the administration that I'm going to lead. But that they have a responsibility to not just attend school. Obviously, we want them to school and to school on time. But we're going to need students to show up. And I don't mean showing up by being in the room. They're going to be responsible for studying and having resources in their schools to afford them the opportunity to study after school or before school if they need a place to do that. That part of their responsibility is to show up by making sure that homework is completed and that it's completed when it was supposed to be completed. For them to ask questions of their teachers when something is unclear, because sometimes while a teacher may think that they taught a particular lesson, there are students who may walk away from that lesson feeling as though they may not have learned it. So that students are going to be responsible and required to ask important questions so that, in fact, whenever there's a lesson that was learned, that they walk away from it understanding why they needed to learn what they needed to learn, to see how it's going to help them become better. And then ultimately, in the end, while there are going to be testing requirements and there's pressure on our students to do well in school, and that leads to opportunities in college and perhaps lessons learned for their careers in life, that we need them to just be good kids. So we're going to have fun in school, we're going to learn in
I knew
school,
you'd say fun
and
in
we're
school.
going to ultimately demonstrate to everyone that a student from the city of Newark is a student that will be ready, willing, and able at any point in time to engage with any student in the United States of America. We're going to go a little bit broader than the Essex County. We're going to say the entire country, that we will be able to engage in conversations of issues that our generations have actually left to them for problems. So it's not only a student in Newark doing well in Newark, that's going to happen. It's also about demonstrating to everyone in this country what it means to come from Newark, New Jersey. And no one should be scared of that.
Sounds like there's going to be a lot of young people on debate teams in this city.
We're going to have a debate team probably in every single one of our high schools and definitely in every single one of our middle grades.
And
most
we're
definitely.
Change the culture.
Absolutely.
We're going to change the culture.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Leon, and thank you all for joining into this very exciting edition of EduTalk. On behalf of Mayor Raz J. Baraka, we thank you for joining us and hope that you join us again and again and again for EduTalk, where we talk about all things education. Thank you.